I give a giant hand to the community of Nosara for how much it does give back to everything, to the recycle center, to the animals, the monkeys, the dogs, the cats, the food bank, the library, all of that.
On and on.
Right, security. Fortunately, you don't get enough, but, the bomberos. And it's so too bad, in my opinion, that there's so many people that have come in here with the attitude, oh, it's so beautiful, I'm going to build my mansion, on my lot, and they give nothing back. I'm treasurer of a lot of organizations, and I know who gives and who doesn't. And it just really upsets me that, people aren't giving back to the community, which they supposedly love.
I'd like to think they just don't know how to get involved, or they don't know where to get involved.
Probably I don't know who they are. Because as you know, when I have a cause, when there's a cause, I'd say, hey, Rich, give me $20. You go, okay, what for?
I don't have the zeros behind my donations at the level of the people who are coming in.
Right.
So what do we do about that?
I have no idea. I don't know how to get to know. I mean, if anybody seeing this is curious, a lot of people know how to get in touch with me.
Right. Well, we still have friends in Nosara out there. And a lot of the people, they don't know that there's a buffet of services. You can find the trees. You can find the monkeys. You can find the mercy homes. You can find the security, the bomberos, on and on and on. But what we don't need in this town is the same people who've been doing this for the past 10, 20 years to continue doing it for the next 10, 20 years. And those are the same primary sources of funding. We need to get into the new folks. This is one of the inspirations for the podcast. I want people to hear this and realize our whole area literally gets by off of us. We have very little government funding. The schools, the public schools, just take a look. Like, the public funding is basically non-existent in the green areas. That was what you guys fought for back in the day. Getting involved is how we made this thing happen. But now we have people who have money coming in. How do we pull them in? Well, this is also why I want to do a community center. I think my long-term objective. I'm trying to get from real estate into doing a community center that bridges the Tico community and the Gringo community. The Gringos can go learn Spanish. The Ticos can come learn English. They have activities. At night, we can have TED Talks and different people can come in. Like, that's what I want to do. I don't know how to raise the capital for that, but I know it's out there. So I'm hoping people will listen to this and get us there. You used to have to go door to door, though. Phone to phone, office to office, which you're still doing to this day. And shout out to you. But what I'm saying is it's 2019. I think we need to up it. I think we need to get deeper into the people coming in and say, hey, it's Nosara. You're welcome. We're happy you're here. Okay, you build a house. That's great. Now get involved. And not a little, a lot. And if you can't volunteer physically, that's fine. Stroke a check. Here's any number of organizations that this could land at.
I was doing the collection for the recycle center to try and keep it going because I think it's $4,500 a month of operating expenses, and the income off the sale of the recyclables after process. Well, processing is time consuming and everything else. It's maybe $500.
Right.
So, we're asking. I have a list of almost 1,000 emails. I don't know who, Blue Zone 0 at Gmail is, but that's the only basis I have. I have water, I have NCA lists, I have my own list that, I put it all together, and, some people have donated, and then their wife gets well, we already gave. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know that that's your wife,
Right. Well, now you have this platform. You're here right now. So say it. Let people listening say whatever you want to them.
For any project in this community, Friends of Nosara, which really doesn't exist anymore. Now all funds go through Amigos de Costa Rica, which is a U.S. corporation and Costa Rican, tax deductible both. 2, you can make a donation via them. You can do it to, I think there are 30 organizations or something like that on.
Right. I know there was at least 18.
Right.
I think the issue that we have right now is the people coming in aren't hearing this. They don't know that they can quickly hop online and say, oh, this will get to the trees. Oh, this will get to the monkey. This will get to the refuge. This can get to Cebu. This can get to security. This can get to the bomberos. And it can. And we need people to know that.
Right. Friends of Nosara.
And shout out to Friends of Nosara.
Right. Alice and Mike Olson for setting it up 20 some years ago.
Alice actually came in a couple days ago, so her podcast will launch here soon. I hope people will take the time to check it out because There's a group of Saints of Nosara that I call you guys, you know, like the Sarah Antinsons, the Jessica Sheffields, you, Alice, like, and so many more. But without you guys and your effort, this place wouldn't be what it is. But the people coming in don't know that unless we manually tell them, which again is why I'm happy to have you here today.
Right.
So let's go up to...
Wait, I have one more thing on the recycle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, we're all forced to produce things that are recyclable. So if you haven't paid, it's your moral responsibility to keep the recycle center going and, make sure that things are clean when you get there, because there's nothing worse than opening a Tetra Pak with the lid on it that hasn't been cleaned out and having it explode all over you. Really gross. Okay.
So there's a group of you guys who have been going to the recycle center every Thursday morning.
Which the mean age is like 68.66.
We need to work on that.
We could lower that mean age.
Actual some volunteers and bring the age group down. In numbers.
There are groups that come in. Del Mar goes in, the local schools go in. So there are the food bank is bringing in their people as to give back to the community, which is a good thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
could your average visitor go and help you guys on Thursdays?
Sure.
You'd accept them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, and
just don't get in our way.
So point being, for the recycling center, we could use physical volunteers, and then we also obviously need the donations because it does not cash flow. It does not make sense financially.
We need both. I mean, every one of us that goes on Thursdays paid our $120, and we put in 2 hours a week. And, and recycling here is difficult because like some things you think are recyclable, they're not.
Right. What do we have? 3 items we can take? If I remember what Christian told me, basically.
I think 12 or 15 different bags that we have to sort them into.
I get you. Well, we'll put it in the show notes while the screen's playing. Kaya, who's editing all this, my daughter, she'll look up. Christian taught us like the ones for sure that you can't.
1 and 2 for sure. But stuff like yogurt containers aren't.
Right.
The green plastic Chinese food things are not. Reuse them.
The recycling center's there. It needs attention. It needs money, and it needs volunteers. Now let's go to a broader scope on the area. The new zoning plan that's come in. What are your thoughts? Are we too late? Is this all for naught, or is it a great idea? Do you have any thoughts you can share with us from your opinion?
I think it's imperative that goes into place. In my opinion, it's late, but better late than never. Yes, it's not a perfect thing, but the Muni is open to suggestions, and it's not a permanent regulatory plan, and it can be changed over the years. So, it needs our support.
The way it was originally set up, as you explained, was the commercial stuff was going to be backed by Estancia and back that way. Well, now you have what some people call downtown Guiones, kind of where Cafe Paris is, down by Surf Nosara and Ololai and the Robins and all. You have that strip, which actually does have, I think, like 65 parking spaces and it has some infrastructure. That's there, but you have the G section spot right
Little
there.
Italy.
That's mainly commercial at this point, I would say.
You can't get through there. I won't go to the beach anymore. I used to go every day, from Bosco Verde with my friend to walk our dogs. And
you did
her dog
do that.
on the.
I think I used to see you and Lily doing that. Maybe it was Paula. I can't remember. I used to see you all the time.
All 3 of us. And now I refuse to go down there. It just drives me crazy to go through there. And, that's why I moved out of there.
The next generation, you can't just ignore it because those are where the people are staying. And we want the people who come through to make donations and get involved and to enjoy the community. But so that's why I was asking, is it too late? Because you have that area, which is so dense. And you just, in 10 years, look how fast that happened. It was like that. This new zoning plan that's coming in, it's supposed to be temporary. Everyone, no matter what side of the fence you're on, seems to want a zoning plan. There's a lot of difference of opinions as to what that means. And if we implement a temporary one and that temporary one turns into not being so temporary, did we just do something good or bad? It just depends on which side of the fence you're on and how you're looking at it.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure about, lot size. Obviously, people are upset about that. And height, they're working on the height because 3 meters.
It was at 6 was like the original proposal. And
well,
so
in
it was
the first kilometer, it was
Right. Within the first kilometer from the 200-meter line.
And then it was 8 or something like that. Right. Part of, I mean, even if it goes in, there are regulations that exist.
Mm-hmm. That might not even be being enforced.
That's the problem. Menai has all these laws about cutting trees down, but there's not the enforcement.
Right.
You're not supposed to be building on 100% of your land, and that was never approved by the Muni or anybody else, but there's nobody out here to take a look at it.
That's right.
And, you're supposed to have parking. You're not supposed to have your septic tank in the middle of the road. I know 2 instances of that. This is a refuge. We're part of the Ostia Wildlife Turtle Refuge. And, the runoff, a house like here, all that water used to perk into the ground. Now it's going into gutters and being flushed. That's going out to the, collecting all the mud all the way and going out to the ocean. So it's not just, the sewage and everything else. It's just the runoff from homes. It's not, the water's not perking back into the ground. And, last month I had 25 inches of rain. Guiones had over 30 inches. All that
this
water,
stuff's going somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, look at all the streams. They're all full of dirt, from construction and everything else, or, denuding of a property. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to hold the soil together.
Or even the molasses from the roads. Look at whenever the seasons change, when we go from the dry to the rain, look at the water.
Oh, yeah. And then cuts across the roads and makes nice ditches. And
right. Mm-hmm. With growth comes growing pains. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily have solutions for them. But so on the zoning plan, here's where your position is, if I'm understanding it. Something's better than nothing, better late than never. Let's do something, but please let's focus on the plan reguladora as opposed to, say, the temporary. Mm-hmm. Is that it for the most part?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure, of the timing of everything,
that was a question you never answered. Do you think they're going to do a real plan reguladora within 2 to 3 years, as they're telling us? Okay.
No, not realistically.
All right. So, that helps.
And again, that's my opinion.
Right. Well, let's hope you're wrong, but most likely you're probably right. Mm-hmm. If historical evidence is on our side as far as processing things in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. Do you have any thoughts or opinions as to lot size or height that you could share with us?
Personally, 3 stories max within the first kilometer. I'd rather see 2, but, it's too late. Across the street from my beach house, there's a 4-story building.
Right. Oh, thank God there's only a couple of those. Well, we're really lucky that's the case.
Totally.
People don't know that either. We're super fortunate that we're not already littered with 4 and 5 and 6 and 7-story places.
Correct. Thing in the regulatory plan is the light pollution, because that really affects the turtles. And, people think, we need more lighting for security at my house, which actually I don't think is in reality true. Part of the beauty of being here is not the light pollution and being able to look up and watch the stars. Light pollution is horrible.
Well, people who aren't familiar with turtles or the area might, this is kind of a surprise as they're listening. They're like, what do you mean light pollution and turtles? Explain what that means when there's lights and the turtles can see it from the ocean.
They follow the moon and they get confused with lighting, if there's a bright light or anything. Or look at all the dead frogs in the road that are underneath the street lights eating the bugs that get nailed. The wildlife is being destroyed by the lighting. And, the monkeys are getting fried on the electric lines.
Well, hey, shout out, you mentioned that. Shout out to everyone who's been helping with that. The refuge has been working very hard. And thank you to the
Stop the Shock program.
Stop the Shocks. And also thanks to all the homeowners. I was on that one for a little bit, and I don't know of a single homeowner or landowner who didn't allow a crossing path to be installed, which was really nice to see.
Which is very recent.
But it's a new effort.
Right.
In the past, though, we didn't have the growth, and we had a lot of lots that were actually private land that designated to be built on. But now that's all happening. So those trees are going away. So a lot of people think, and I notice this a lot, and this is unfortunate. A lot of people think parklands are where there actually aren't parklands, and now that they're being built on, they're like, wait, why are you destroying the parks? The reality is we've just been pretty lucky for a really long time. But that's starting to go away because now Nosara is so popular, and now you're about to have an infusion of a whole lot more property between the old double titling stuff. I don't know how much we need to get into that here, but
I'm lost on it. So
a lot of that land people just think is parkland, and it's not. So that's something Alice brought up in her podcast, and that's a pretty good point. So I think the case for a zoning plan, I'm with you on that one. Better late than never. I'd say, what is it, the 14th of June as we record this? The community is talking. There's more dialogue. Both sides have calmed down. Or the opposition is like, okay, thanks for the chance to be able to talk.
Right, and the Muni is listening. So you know, another, you know, in 2 months or something, they'll come out with another temporary thing, and you know, in the meantime, that's probably why the person that cut down all the trees yesterday on this lot in J section,
the one that you're talking about earlier,
went ahead and did it. You know, man, I got to build up. I got to get my. I mean,
boy, you're right.
Lily's, the water company has had a giant influx of
requests and applications.
Yep.
Well, you just crossed over a couple points. One of them was you and me are sitting here right now, happy about the dialogue with Nicoya. When's the last time that happened? So that's good news. Like, there's a true open dialogue where they're actually driving out every Monday and you can sit down and talk physically to Josue. That's great.
It is great.
So shout out to Nicoya for that. Then at the same time, what was the point you just made a second ago?
I don't know. I'm old.
It was, what was she talking about, Kaya?
She wasn't listening.
Caught her not paying attention.
I think it was either like the influx of water requests.
Oh, yeah. So we have Nicoya being communicative, and then at the same time, even Nicoya and everyone else is saying, well, hey, for those of you who bought something and you had plans, well, you better get it done fast. Right. So that is natural for the applications to go up and people to hit the gas on this because they might lose their property
and
rights.
Go out and segregate your lot now.
Right.
You know, you've got an 1,800 square meter lot divided into 4 or 5.
Right. Well, you can.
We
had somebody do that just now in the G section of all places. Guy bought it. It was 800 meters. It used to be 1,800-ish meters, got subdivided down into 8. And we were like, hey, keep it there. Just do your house. It'll work. And he's like, no, I'm going to subdivide it. And we were like, well, no, that's the G section. Like, we don't need that. He's like, well, they did it. Why can't I?
Right.
And he's got me there. Like, I don't have a rebuttal,
right.
Except for it's already crowded and you'll do well financially off this as it stands. But his point is like, no, I want to have my spot here too. And legally, I can do this. They did it, and I'm not the first person to do it. So I'm going to give it a whirl. Right. So what do you say to that?
I mean, there's no stopping it, in my opinion, unfortunately, as the rules stand now. But, you know, I love it when people come down, well, I want to buy this and then, you know, build a little house and then a little guest cabina to rent out or 2. And I think, how much investment do you have to put into that to build it, maintain it, keep it, you know, hire people to do all of that stuff? Right. And how long is it going to make you, you know, to be able to rent your room for $50 a night, maybe 20% out of the year? There's so many rentals here that, you know, when I did the rental property, I told people you were really lucky if your property will rent 20% of the year.
Right. Well, and some of that has changed. So where we're at now is, here's the truth. And this is what most people don't realize. Most homes don't cash flow. People get the idea of, I'm going to come down here, I'm going to slap this up on Airbnb, I'm going to make all this money. And it's really not the case. Some homes here do cash flow.
Yes.
Homes in the right location and the right setup, they do. And the issue is that to get positioned in those locations, it's pretty expensive. Like, for example, if someone wanted to come take your beach lot down, that's not going to be cheap. But that location could cash flow. But let's take that same situation. The very back end of Guiones, you're not going to cash flow. Or if you move into outside of right where people want to be, it's very hard to cash flow. So
yeah, I mean,
I'd say
the main road is sort of, you know, people can still walk to the beach from the Kaya mangoes or,
Right.
that, and everything's right there.
Actually, if you follow that line kind of throughout the community, from over that G and H section all the way over to the IJ, if you kind of draw that same line, that is basically your cash flowing properties if you can get on the beach side of that.
Again, when I was doing the rentals, people say, I want to be in downtown Nosara. I said, great, I have a house for $250 a month, No, that's not Nosara. That's Guiones.
Has it always been like that? Because when I first showed up...
Nobody ever called it... we called it the project all the time.
Okay.
Go to the project. Because that's what all of our electric bill, Proyecto Americano.
All right.
So, and everybody's 500 meters from Cafe de Paris, the direction.
I gotcha. Because now everyone says they go to Nosara. No one really goes to Nosara. They go to the project. Or Playa de Nosara, as we like to call it now.
Right. Yes. People have been trying to get rid of the project, since it's sort of derogatory in the United States, for many years. But, it's like the dump road. The dump road's always going to be the dump road. And for me,
it's the dump road. It just is what it is. All right. So as we sit here in 2018 and you're watching everything that's going on, what advice would you give for the people who are coming in right now or for the community itself? Because I know for you, it's heartbreaking to watch the town evolve, as inevitable as it may be. You yourself have said we're very lucky that it's evolved the way it has. But at the same time, we're still having growth pains and we still don't have a zoning plan. And we also don't have any enforcement of said zoning plan, whatever it may be for the most part. So right. I think we're relying on a lot of luck still. This is my opinion here. And we need the people coming in to factor this stuff and into their future existence here, no matter what format that may be. So what's your thoughts?
Join in, if you're a property owner or even a visitor and you love Nosara, there's so many, go to Friends of Nosara. You can give back to the community. If you prefer, monkeys over dogs, give to Cebu or the refuge, if vice versa, if you library, food bank, whatever. Visitors coming in, if you're coming, ask the property manager or the owner, what can I bring? You're coming down to, you don't need much down here. Kids always need school supplies, shoes, go to the dollar store and fill up a basket and bring it down of pencils, papers, crayons, socks, razor blades.
I want to say thanks to the people who have done that, because the good news is over the past couple of years, there's some families like the Barnetts when they come down, they're bringing school supplies. But I would like the casual listener, the casual visitor to know a suitcase filled with just pads that kids can write on and pencils. Like it goes a long way.
Spiral notebooks, the kids all have to buy their own supplies here and books.
We have some kids who can't get to school because they can't get the basic package to get in with the appropriate shoes. And
when I went to school, the school gave you the book and you gave it back. You used a brown paper bag to put it on the cover and draw all over that so you didn't destroy the book. And then you gave it back. And
I remember those days.
You see that you got your sister's from 2 years ago. It's like, oh.
Hopefully they had some notes in there.
Right.
So the point is, you're saying people, if you're just coming in for a vacation, bring something, help out a little, a $5 donation here or there, anything. What about the people who are relocating here, are building a vacation home or investing in the area? What message would you have for them? If
it's an empty lot, survey the lot, physically go out there and spend time and see what wildlife is going through there. If there's a monkey trail, if, where's the transformer going to be? Don't plant it under a mango tree.
Put a boot on it.
Put a boot on it that will protect it so the monkeys don't get fried. It's horrific to see and hear. And, both Cebu and the refuge get animals all the time. And, I've been helping out at Cebu and, there was a monkey that had its tail amputated and a leg amputated because it was fried. And now it's
alive.
Yeah, and now it's hooked up with another one that had a hand amputated and part of its tail.
So the boots, let's clarify, the boots can prevent this from happening.
Well, if they put them on right.
I guess that's another subject. But either way, we need people to support the booth.
Right. And I think that any contractor should include that and make it mandatory, or builder should make it mandatory.
Right, or even the architect.
Right.
Because the architect knows the law super well.
And also building walls around your house. You're okay, so you don't want a pasoti going or, pooping in your pool. Big deal. You're cutting off their corridors, where they go. If you have a 6-foot concrete wall, there's no way that they can get through there.
Or if you plant a mango tree right by where the transformer is, you're endangering the
right.
animals.
I mean, the monkeys are going crazy for mangoes now. And if you have a mango tree and don't have boots on it, have somebody cut the limbs back so that they can't jump from the tree to the transformer or transformer to the tree.
There's a lot of people coming in and investing in the area now. What advice would you give to someone who does have to cut down trees? Because the harsh reality is, as heartbreaking as it may be, shout out to Paige for the term heartbreaking whenever a tree has to go. As heartbreaking as it may be, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. What advice do you give in this situation?
I can tell you a funny story. That one of the older houses had to cut down a big, huge Guanacaste tree.
Ouch.
And about 30 years later, it started coming back up through the living room tile floor. It won.
I do want to give a bit of a shout out to the architects and a lot of the builders most recently. And what I mean by that is, as much as Lagarda Lodge, what it is today compared to what it was, well, at least they did build around a couple trees. Like if you go in the restaurant, there's literally, the building goes around the trees. If you go to Olas Verdes and Guiones, same thing. They did a very sustainable style build. And more architects, the higher the talent is and the more talent that comes in, the architects that are here are now saying, hey, you know what? That's a feature. Build around this as opposed to just clear cutting it. But when I first got here, that was kind of the methodology was cut the lot, start with a blank slate, and then let's go replant. But people would use plants. They just go down to the vivero, buy the stuff that they see in Miami or on TV, but that uses too much water and it's not really a food source for the local.
Right. And planting a lawn is stupid because you got to water it all and buy a lawnmower.
Right. So what would you say to someone who's coming in, they're having to cut something down? What steps can they take to offset?
They should have permits from Menai for cutting down certain trees.
Right.
And then, again, look at the lot to see how you can work around any, monkey trails or corridors for animals.
Or if you have a Guanacaste, that needs to stay. If you can build around a Pachote, if you can build around these trees, we have more technology. We can build around things better than we ever could. So it's nice to see that starting to happen. Right.
Incorporate the tree as the focal point of your home. Make a sort of atrium thing that's not going to soak your house or whatever.
And being a food source too, the endemic trees that grow native here take less water and they're better food sources for the animals. But it's really unfortunate if you have a mango tree sitting right under a transformer because that monkey's going to go for that mango.
If you've cut down trees, put in a monkey bridge, an animal bridge to get from one side of the road to the other side so they don't end up using the wires.
So shout out to Stop the Shocks for getting that going. Homeowners have been very participatory, if that's a word. All right, so Bobbi, what's your take on walls? Because I know you're not a big fan.
Well, I think most people build walls for security purposes. But I know many people that have first-story homes that are open air and have very little problem with intrusion from, animals. I mean, my house where I don't have anybody. I mean, it may be my dogs, but they usually lose in a fight against a Pasote. So
yeah, Pasote's going to win.
Right. The army ants show up. They're wonderful. People freak out.
That's true. So army ants, to clarify for someone listening, what are you talking about?
A bazillion ants that come and invade your house marching in a row, and they scare out all the other bugs in the house, and your house is inundated, and they go through the house or outside for a few hours, and then they're gone.
So you're saying let the army ants clean your house for free?
Yeah, watch them. I mean, don't step on them because they hurt when you step on them, but they're really. I had a dog tied up because he was obnoxious. And so I went out to move him. And all of a sudden I was on by the pool, and they were coming at me at both sides, the army ants, and I'm like, buddy, we either have to get out of here now or go for a swim. I'm not sure which. If I had stayed there, it would have been fine. They would have just walked over me. They're not going to come eat me alive. They're pretty cool.
Gotcha. Let's move over to some of your just general dislikes. We know you love nature. We know you love your friends. We know what you love about the place. But I want to know what you dislike about this place.
No, you don't.
I do. And people listening do too.
People.
Exactly. So your dislikes are people. You mean particular people or people in general?
Both.
Talk us through that.
There are too many people in the world. And that's why I don't have children. You know, look where the situation of the whole world, and you know what are your grandchildren going to be faced with? You know, it's very depressing, and you know, I saw that 50 years ago, so it's like, okay, and that was what was so nice about when we first came here. Nobody had children.
Right.
Sorry, Kai.
No, thank you for the honesty.
There's nobody I really hate, you know, individually.
Gotcha. It's just the fact there's just too many people on the planet.
And well, there are too many greedy people.
So what do you think about Nosara? Do you think there's a lot of greed here? Because with the new zoning plan that comes up, I see the word greed mentioned all the time. And whenever someone brings something up, that's like the standard answer of greed. Do you feel that it's greed?
It's a combination of getting in before it gets impossible to get in. But a lot of it is to make money, you know? The guy you were talking about subdividing his lot. He's gonna make money.
Well, he wants both. He wants the chance to make money from his location, and he also wants to get in while he can, because he can't come back in. Right. And that's where his point is valid. I'm not saying I agree with what he's doing.
You know, it's like the Casa,
I get it.
Casa Cubes that, you know, where Surf Symphony used to be, or some of the others that are right on top of each other and share septic and stuff like that. To me, that's like overdevelopment of a piece of property.
So it kind of gets back into density and density, percentage of use and all that type of stuff. But
I mean, at least that place has parking. There's so many places that...
Yeah. And actually, shout out to Surf Simply for their new build being very considerate of the environment.
And they didn't go 3 stories when they had permits.
So... Again, big shout out to them. And they took so much heat. And I was very familiar with that project. I helped find that location for them. And people were like screaming, greed, you're horrible, you're ruining the place. And the reality was, if everyone built like they did, this would be a far better community. Right. The issue is what you just said, when you have tiny, tiny little spaces being utilized and we don't have enough room.
Right. Instead of concrete walls, make the natural fence, green fences, put up a wire thing and let nature, these beautiful flies.
Let it happen.
Yeah, don't look out there. If you want privacy, look out at, a beautiful vine and watch the birds and the iguanas come and eat it and destroy it for you. No problem.
I got you. So dislikes for you are density or overuse of property, people in general. What else? This is your time. Get it out.
I told you I might go ballistic. Respect for where we are. You're going to build your little utopia without any regard for your neighbor, how it's going to affect your neighbor, which is either a human being or an animal. And you came here because you loved the monkeys, and now you don't have monkeys in your yard. And, think about it before you develop it, and respect where we are and appreciate it.
What else should we be doing that we're not doing right now? Because we have a temporary zoning plan. Something's going to happen. That was a huge, massive step. But what else should we be doing?
Be more conscientious about the environment, as far as, litter on the beach, litter everywhere, recycling, reduce, reuse. What is it?
Reduce, reuse, recycle was the first one, and then there's a couple different adjustments.
The first ones now is rethink.
Right.
Super Nosara now at their meat counter says bring in your Tupperware container, so you don't have to take a plastic bag. And then tomorrow, Super Nosara and some other organizations are putting on environmental fair in the parking lot that Super Nosara is giving away free canvas bags so people don't have to use the single-use plastic bags.
Shout out the No Plastic Nosara page and also pre-page your efforts. Aren't you the one who went to Coca-Cola and basically got it to where we could have recyclables and it wasn't just plastic?
Plastic in cans. They came, I guess beer came for cans.
My understanding is you were the cornerstone that made that happen way back when.
Deborah Snellgrove and I tried to start recycle programs here in 92. Because at that time, it was just when plastics and cans started coming in. Before that, we had none of that. When you went to the grocery store, you had to take, a container to take your eggs home. You had to take your own bag.
I got
There were no
so it was
plastic.
by necessity.
Yeah, you didn't have the luxury of taking home 17 plastic bags and throwing them away.
Fast forward to today, if you had to rate recycling as a priority in the community, where does that fit in your list? I know you're personally very, very passionate about it, but how big of an issue is it to get people to pay that voluntary donation that's not that expensive?
It's imperative if we want to keep the recycle center going.
Do you think that we will?
We're getting there. I was doing the one for the collecting, and somebody else is now taking that over. Thank goodness. If we can get 385 people to families or whatever, and I think we're at 280. So, some people are donating $500, which is great. Some people are donating $10 a month rather than the $120 a year, but
We'll take it.
Right. It would be wonderful to get more equipment in there so the guys can work more efficiently.
Right. It's not quite so manual.
Right. And, there's 3 guys that lived there, and the design of the building was totally stupid, in my opinion.
It's amazing how well they get along and make do in those conditions, quite frankly.
Yeah. And buy them a pizza as a thank you once in a while. Drive by when you're taking your recyclables in, say, here, thank you for everything you do. Here's a pizza.
Pizzeria Lily is right around the corner. And whenever you do drop a pizza off for those folks, they are so friendly. They're so grateful.
Rather than giving a sack of rice to the food bank, take it to the recycle center. They got to eat. And they've got, they're trying to take care of the animals there, so they have to buy dog food and cat food out of their salaries.
Ideally help both, because the sack of rice is pretty inexpensive too.
Right.
So, all right, so let me ask you this. What do you see as far as Nosara's future? Like, what's your prognosis? Are you optimistic or not quite so much? Like, what's your take on things?
I want to move on to our farm on the other side of the river and just put up a gate that says keep out.
I mean, you and I both know this. Every town on the Pacific coast, or really anywhere, the way it normally works is the people get there first, they get positioned, they get to utilize the kind of like squeezing the beginning of the tube of toothpaste. You have a whole lot in there, right? You got to set up at Giardino, which is now the Guards. That was an amazing time. You saw so much wildlife. You had so much privacy. There weren't even cars really driving by at that time. Like, it was amazing. But those days are gone. So what people generally do is they go from their location and the choice spot, they move a little bit further back, and they move a little bit further back. So you follow that exact formula. You were really close to the beach, right on the beach, a little bit back off the beach, and now you're back in Bosque Verde. When I first came to Costa Rica in 1999, that's what I was hearing from people in Tamarindo. They were like, hey, it's Tamagringo now. I'm out of here. So they were moving from those choice spots back out. And that's exactly what we're having right now. You and your friends and the people who've been here a long time, notice you guys are all pulling back and out to the outside. So what's life like on the outside edges of Nosara compared to being right up front, which is where everybody wants to be? But in my opinion, life's a lot sweeter if you get back away from the main central part of Guiones in particular. But what's your take on that?
Well, Bosque Verde now is developing, and
It took a minute.
Right. I think there's 6 building projects. Of course, we're the first house, which every single vehicle that comes into Bosque Verde has to pass and kick up dust and drives way too fast.
But you had a good run.
Oh, yeah,
you had
totally.
a good run.
Totally.
At each spot, you've had a good run.
Right. And my first husband and I always had like a 10-year plan, 5 or 10-year plan. We said, okay, we'll live in Nosara for 5 or 10 years, see how, And I guess that fell through.
But it sounds like it's the nature that pulled you and kept you here through all the tough times.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you just moved was from, as each area got more populated and more dense, you took a step back and a step back and a step back to where you're at now.
Right. A friend of ours, Jeb Buford, that used to own the Iguana, used to cross-stitch a woman's places in the jungle for all the people that used to come in, And now I'm like, Jan, I need one that says, I have chosen to live here. I have chosen to live here. I mean, because we do choose them. We can go back to the United States. I have no idea where I'd go, or why.
Oh, gosh. There's a lot more people there. Those people are all coming here. I and you are one of our
right, and
doing that ourselves.
But if I go to the other side of the river on our farm.
So the next step back is one more step back potentially.
Yep.
I got you, but you still love this place enough to be here, and this is home. This is it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have no intention of going back to the United States.
All right. I know you don't like to come into town much, but I'm asking you probably the toughest question all day.
Mm-hmm.
What are your 3 favorite restaurants in no particular order?
My kitchen, my kitchen, my kitchen.
Okay. So stepping outside of your kitchen, where do you like to go?
I go to Marlin Bill's. I don't go out very much at all anymore. I was at Pacific Azul yesterday.
All right. So Bill's, Pacifica Azul, those are long-time staples. They've been here a long time. You and Bill, I got to get you guys back in together because that one podcast that we never aired was some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard. But more on that later.
I like Dolce Vita, but he's only open at night.
That's true.
And I like Casa Romantica, but he's only open at night.
You're on the other end of town now, too.
I don't go out at night.
So let's find something in the day. Pacifica Azul, Marlin Bill's, what else?
That's pretty much the only places I go.
I got you. See here.
Or I take food in the car and eat there.
Hey, I got a quick question on animal care, which you've been a very strong proponent of. How is it today with Nosara Animal Care at Amoris Animalis compared to how it was just 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Oh, I mean, Nosara Animal Care does 50 animals a month, which is incredible that there's still that many, but it's very good. And Amor is catching, cats on a regular basis and turning them loose after they're fixed, so the population is going down considerably. And the awareness of people of taking care of their pets, taking them to the vet, making sure they're fed and vaccinated has increased incredibly.
I'm bringing this up because I want to celebrate successes, because unless human beings cease to exist, it's never going to look like it did when you first got here. It's going to be different. Now,
you should read the book, The World Without Us.
Oh, gosh. I've seen a couple different documentaries about it. And it's hard to love the human species after seeing any of that stuff. But that being said, I'm here, you're here, my kids are here. I'm going to do the best that I can. Mm-hmm. My opinion is the people coming in are the solution. They have the money. They have the capacity. We need to reach them. Mm-hmm. And we need to change from the old days of you having to knock doors. We need to do stuff like this so that they can hear it. They know that they can give back. Mm-hmm. And there are approved places to give back to, and it's not that hard. And a million thanks to you for all of your efforts over the years, and all the people who fought to save the parklands, who fought to get the animal programs going, to do everything that you've ever done is more things than I or anyone else can give you.
Thank you. But again, back to thanking the community of Nosara, for the millions and millions of dollars that have been donated. Unfortunately, it's not enough. But, Friends of Nosara processed millions. Well, and that doesn't even include the individual fundraisers that
right, exactly. I was saying, and that's not even counting the independent events that happened. So the reason why I was bringing up the animal care and the recent success of that is because I want to take the position of, let's go have more successes with that. Mm-hmm. The people coming in have money. That's the one thing you've never had in all these years of your fighting, and all of you guys. You guys were squeezing blood from turnips, like almost literally. It's the same people giving. I noticed that at the first Friends of Nosara meetings. Even when I got here as recently as 2009, it's the same people giving. It's the same people serving. Whenever we go out to the projects, you see the same people doing the work and the same people donating. And that's not how it should be. The people coming in need to get involved. Mm-hmm. And they need to know that there are approved locations that have already been scrubbed, that their money can land. And you nailed it earlier. You want to help nature? Great. We have like 5 to 10 different organizations that are set up between trees, monkeys, just name it. There's a spot. You want to help people? Great. We have stuff that are helping school children, to mercy home builds, to security, to the bomberos. Just go down the list. We have such a need. And you guys made this place work with basically nothing. Imagine what we could do is if we took the people who are literally moving here, saying because of the nature, if we could get them dialed in, I'm telling you, I think we could have successes, just like the animal programs have been a success. Barry Guiones has been a fantastic success.
Right.
Look at our beachfront compared to 5 years ago. We might have shade somewhere in Guiones at some point in time. Like, humans are a problem, and I know the overall mood right now in the area is doom and gloom, and I'm just trying to say, we're here, let's make the most of it, and let's take advantage of the fact that there's capital here and people who have money to give. We've never had that before. This should almost be like a Christmas type of present for the people who are trying to do good. But at the same time, every Thursday morning, I'm guessing it's mainly the same people who are at the recycling center. At the mercy home builds, it's pretty much the same people, unless we can get different church groups or something to come through. Bomberos, same. I think it's time for us to turn a page. Like, as we move into
Like the Security Association, like
the irony of it is you guys made it work without almost nothing for a really long time. So again, a million thanks to you.
$1 million would help. Thanks don't go that far, really.
Well, all I can say right now is thanks, and hopefully people are listening to this and they can see Nosara's in a transitory period. And not everyone here is a greedy developer. Not everyone here is a nature enthusiast at the highest level. Life's kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
People can get involved, though. Like, it's not that hard. It's readily available. But they don't have to. A lot of times people shy away from getting involved because they think they have to be you. You're dedicated. Like, dedicated. It's a full-time job, just service to the community. And people are on vacation or have a vacation home. They're like, hey, man, this is my getaway. I don't want to go roll up my sleeves and dive around in the dumpsters. Like that's kind of the mentality. And what I'm trying to say is, well, stroke a check. Like, it's not that. That's fine. We need the money just the same.
Right. You paid me to stay away. That's good. Pay the association.
Either way. So as we wind this thing up, do you have any thoughts, jokes, ideas, anything you want to get out there while you have this platform?
No. I would just want to say thank you for getting this, all of your information out. It's very helpful for everybody in the community.
I'm really trying, Bobbi. My goal with this is I completely want to transform how discourse happens in this community.
Right. Oh, I know. That's, it's nice to have discussion and not, as Niece said on her podcast, don't ever believe a rumor you didn't start yourself, because that's how people get angry and, did you hear?
Yep.
Did you hear? Yep. No, I didn't hear.
Well, that's also the curse of social media in our small town. We have people right now who are enemies, who dislike each other over literally a written comment that can be interpreted 2 different ways. And I've just had enough of that. So my thought was, I'm just going to pull in people like yourself. And it doesn't matter if I agree or disagree with anyone. Information is information. But I'm hoping a couple of years from now, some of these gossip pages have moved into something entertaining and we can get the nonsense off there. But I'm literally trying to surround this town with factual information, hear it from you yourself, and then start the conversation up here instead of down here.
We'll go back to the rumor board that the Bamboo Bar had when Bill had it. And okay.
So for anyone listening, just to clarify, Marlon Bill's used to be where Bamboo is in Nosara town back in the day.
He had a bunch.
Tell us about the rumor wall real quick before we go.
I don't know. We'd make up a rumor. I think so. Marlon Bill's. I mean, not Marlon Bill's. Bamboo Bar.
At the Bamboo, so people would just go right in.
Yeah, somebody's, fucking around with somebody else and, I saw so-and-so and so-and-so together. I don't know what they were doing, but...
So social media is now our version of that.
Sort of.
Well, either way, thank you for coming in here, letting people hear your voice, get to know you. And I would also say to everybody who might be scared to talk to you, please talk to you, because you're an absolutely phenomenal human being. You just don't hold anything back. That's my read on you. You'll say how you feel.
I ran into a guy that was by the side of the road, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought thought you were so-and-so. And he goes, Bobbi, I am. I went, Coach, how'd you get so fat? I'm like, oh, Bobbi, you moron.
That is a perfect way to end the podcast. Everyone just got to know you very well.
I say it like it is.
Thanks for coming in, Bobbi. We'll have you back for a much more funny episode
Okay.
sometime in the near future.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Kyle.